Be the Talk, episode 363, featuring Jitendra Pant. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Jitendra Pant. Jitendra, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready, Nathan. Thank you for inviting me.
Jitendra Pant is a passionate biomedical engineer who wants to revolutionize the biomed industry. He's a scientist during the day and a novelist in the evening. Jitendra Pant, welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you so much.
Your talk is called Possible End of the Superbug Antibiotic Resistant Bacteria. And I love this because very kind of scientific oriented talk, really, really important because we've got all of these things in our world today where these, you wash your hand using this alcohol, it used to be a germ killer and it's not killing the germs anymore. And I hear about it all the time because Talk Universe knows I come from a very healthcare oriented family. You had kind of a funny spot in your talk where it goes from a scientific talk to a kind of a stand-up act and everybody's roaring in the aisle with laughter. You said, can we accomplish this? How can we accomplish it? And you basically say, can we? And you say, no. And you help us understand that no isn't the answer. The no is the answer. It's actually an acronym for nitrous oxide. And it must have been all filled with engineers because everybody is hooting and howling. And you got a pretty good applause that I think the likes of Jerry Seinfeld would have envied.
I would like to make a small correction here. So it's it's nitric oxide. And
what did I say? Nitrous oxide?
Nitrous oxide. And a lot of people
the correct
it's nitric oxide.
Nitric oxide, not nitrous oxide.
Yes,
Thank you for doing that. And thank you for schooling me on the correction because it took you 3 times for me to understand. Nitric oxide. Back over to you.
All right. So I think it's not your mistake because a lot of people confuse NO as nitrous oxide because it's the laughing gas and that's more popular than nitric oxide in the journal world. But I believe nitric oxide is a magical molecule. And I believe that the answer for a lot of future medical problems is going to be a no in a good way. And that's why I was so excited to share this passion about nitric oxide with the rest of the world, which is also the topic of my PhD. Mm-hmm. And I just finished my PhD in December 2018. So
congratulations, 1 month old Dr. Jitendra Pant. Yes. I should have said.
Yes.
Congratulations. So, well, I love this because it's not nitrous oxide, but you could have just released laughing gas into the crowd, even though it's not that. I'm a little bit of a nerd. I'm just seeing the humor in this whole thing. So congratulations and please tell us more. I know from the talk, there's all kinds of possibilities in terms of other, you mentioned sexual health and a bunch of other antibacterial kind of applications. Mm-hmm. And I know that one time I sat next to a guy on a plane who was coming up with a latex substitute because of allergies that people have in medical fields for latex. So does this kind of help out with that a little bit as well?
Yes. So what essentially we are trying to do here is we are not coming up with a substitute for latex, but we are improving the existing latex condoms because if you hear it from a woman perspective, it will make more sense because they complain about getting UTIs post an intercourse, and in scientific word, it is also termed as honeymoon cystitis, which means that post honeymoon people are women are more prone to UTIs, and the way a male body is designed, they also get exposed to those bacteria, but they are safer as compared to a woman. So it's a huge problem. And I am pretty sure if a woman is listening to this talk right now, they would agree with me. And that's why we realized there are a lot of women scientists in the lab. And one day we were discussing this problem, and we started thinking, how can we make use of this antibacterial material that we have, nitric oxide, and how can we integrate it into an existing condom? And that's how this entire field of research came in, and then we have filed a patent, and hopefully this product will soon come into the market. So we are solving that problem. Yes, sorry.
Who owns the patent? Is it University of Georgia? Is it your team? Is it how does that work?
So the way it works is the University of Georgia files it on behalf of the scientists. So this particular invention includes me and my PI, Dr. Hitesh Handa. So university has some share in it, but it is not solely owned by them.
Oh, great. So it's a share. It's a collective then.
Yes, it's a collective.
Excellent. So do you see yourself doing this kind of research for years to come, or do you want to pivot to do other things eventually, or what would you say?
So my answer to both your question is yes. I want to continue this, but I also want to do other things. I have co-founded a company called Innovita Biomedical with my existing PI, Dr. Hitesh Handa, which will be based in Athens. It is you can call it a spin-off from University of Georgia. So we'll be bringing a lot of things that I mentioned in my TEDx talk. We are very excited to bring this technology to market. We have collaborated with Department of Defense, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, National Institute of Health, who are funding our research. And recently we have submitted few SBIR grants for bringing our technology to market. So hopefully, yes, this technology will come to market soon. But besides that, I also like to help or assist people in making making the best out of their PhD. And when I started my journey from India, I come from a very small place, and a lot of times small things which are available to others very easily can be very difficult for a person in the lack of guidance. And that's what I try to do. I see a lot of people who are old complaining that if somebody would have guided me when I was a kid, I would have done this, I would have done that. So it's a complaint that everybody has. So I sometimes feel that this is a moral responsibility, that once you achieve little things, you should share it with others, and you should help others to go to the next level. And that's why writing this book called A Fool Who Ate His Hunger came into being. And the essence of that book is to never stop believing in yourself. The essence of that book is also to not show you a fairy world where everything is perfect. The essence of that book is to show you that there will be difficulties. Of course, you will have to deal with different kind of people from time to time. But in the end, if you have perseverance, if you are hardworking, it is going to pay off.
I love that you are both a scientist and a novelist. So does one side feed the other for you?
I would say yes. So when you were talking to Nadia, I really liked what she mentioned, that you have to be yourself when you are connecting with the audience. But in the meanwhile, you should not forget it's a group of people you are talking to. So connecting is very important. And the fact that I am an upcoming novelist, or I want to be a novelist, comes from my basic nature. I'm a person who goes more by heart. I think more from my heart. And so definitely I try to be more creative. I try to be more of a risk taker, even in my research. For example, this latex idea. I remember when we first talked about this in the lab, like there was a joke going around, and people thought that I'm just saying it to crack a joke. I'm never going to make a latex which will help UTI. And I try to bring the creativity part, which makes me a novelist, also into science, and I try to do new experiments. And I think they are not separated from each other. If you are a scientist, you have to be very creative, and you have to be partially emotional, if not completely, because unless or until you connect with the people, or with your customers, or with your clients, or say patients, you will not be able to give your 100% to solve a problem.
Well, we've been enjoying this conversation with Jitendra Pant, Dr. Jitendra Pant. His talk is called The Possible End of the Superbug Antibiotic Resistant Bacteria, which is a huge breakthrough. We are going to be right back with Jitendra Pant in just a moment for the Blitz Round. Hey, Talk Universe. I hope you've been enjoying today's episode with today's guest. But you know what? Many people want more than that. Many people that listen to Be the Talk actually want to give a talk. And if that's you, you're not alone. Listen to the rest of this podcast. At the end, I'll have a free resource for you just for listening. And we are back with Jitendra Pant. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Jitendra a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent talk. Jitendra, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
First question for you. Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
So I applied. I applied to speak because the time when I gave the TED Talk, I was a student. So as a student, you have to qualify and you have to prove them that you are on par with people who are invited. So of course, it was challenging and there was a pool of more than 200 applicants. And fortunately, I was in top 3. So yeah.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I would say blender.
And what's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
I try to put humor and emotions in all my speeches. And I heard you belong to Toastmasters. I've got my training from Toastmasters. But even before Toastmasters, I have given speeches. I have heard a lot of speeches, and I always feel that the talks that I remember till date, the talks that I've heard 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I still remember till date are the talk with which I connected emotionally. So I try to put emotions in my talk, and humor is one such emotions, and feeling pain is one such emotions. So I try to be more of a human than a scientist even in my scientific talk. So that's my advice. You are talking to people, not to walls. So you have to feel, you have to be honest. You have to feel the pain of people you are serving, and you have to feel the people who are listening to you are enjoying the talk and taking a message home. The point is not to prove that you are an expert of a field. The point is to make them understand, even if it is little bit, make sure that they understand the crux of your talk.
Jitendra, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
Right before my talk, I guess. So when they were hooking the microphone over the ear near our face, so it was glued. So my microphone was glued here, and I was not expecting it, and it's kind of an uncomfortable feeling because you are already suited up, you are on stage, and you are already nervous. And there's a lot of people, and it's a TEDx stage, so there's a lot at stake. You cannot. TEDx talk are so reputed that you want to give your 100%, and when these kind of, it's a very small thing.
So this thing was taped to your cheek.
Yes.
Basically. So if you can imagine, Talk Universe, imagine being nervous, the spotlight's there, you're getting ready to go out, and they tape this thing that you're feeling, this weird feeling on your cheek. That's pretty unnerving.
Yes. And you have to keep calm, you have to keep smiling, and you have to keep going. And that thing got over in a matter of 4 or 5 minutes, but yes, it was little weird for me to have it on my face.
Every little thing that you can prepare for will help us actually give a great talk. But who's going to think? I mean, that's the kind of detail that you don't normally know about. And
before the talk.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, everybody, this has been the Blitz Round with Dr. Jitendra Pant. We are going to be back with him in just a moment for the final word of advice. Before we do, I want to tell you where you can go to click on the link that we're going to provide to his talk. It is called Possible End of the Superbug Antibiotic Resistant Bacteria. And you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. We'll have a link there. We will also have a LinkedIn link to Dr. Jitendra's LinkedIn account. You can follow up with him. You can connect with him there. And we're going to be right back with Dr. Jitendra Pant for the final word of advice in just a moment. Hey, Talk Universe, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you want to give the talk to change the world, but you don't know how or even where to start, no problem at all. Go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted for my new 5-day email course that'll show you how. Absolutely free. Just go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted. And we're back with Jitendra Pant. It's time for the final word of advice. What is it?
So my final word of advice for those who are about to give a TEDx talk or any kind of public speaking would be understand your audience. And it's not always possible to know who will be attending it, but you have a general gist. For example, when I was preparing my talk, I knew that it's going to be a lot of students, faculty members, and the parents of the students. So I have a journal gist. I knew my audience is already educated. If not a scientific background, they all come from an educational background. So even when I was giving example of certain bacteria, I picked up examples that are most known. For example, MRSA. For example, E. coli. I did not bring up bacteria that I knew were important, but I did not bring it up because I did not want to confuse my audience. Another thing I would say is, English is not my native language, and for a lot of speaker, it won't be. Try to take pauses, appropriate pauses when you're speaking, when you're giving a TED talk. Try to be comfortable when you're on stage. Know that people trust you. That's why they have come to listen to you. So you hold a lot of credibility there. Be very careful about what you're saying because your talk can make an impact. And be thorough with the scientific data you are presenting. Cross-check it before you throw those numbers to people, because this talk is not just about you impressing your audience as a speaker, but it is also about them taking a message home, and you don't want to give a wrong message, especially because the outreach of TED Talk is very vast. And third thing is, like Nadia said, be yourself and bring some emotions. Again, you're not talking to walls, you're not talking to chairs, you're talking to human beings. Feel their pain, put a little bit of humor. It goes a long way. I have seen one of the best speeches that I have heard are the one that brought a lot of laughter and little bit of tears in audience eyes. So be careful about that and make sure that you bring humor and emotion in your speech.
Jitendra Pant, thank you so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.